I want Hilary Swank in the next Terminator movie so bad.
There is nothing in this world that you give me to do to hug a robot.
It's because it's so incredible and intricate that it's impossible not to notice.
Music's the core of this movie.
I was born again to watch this movie.
You'll find redeeming things and you'll be thinking about it for a long time afterwards.
There was no bone saw.
Just John hamming it up over here.
2.5 out of 3 of us recommend it.
Everybody loves talking about movies. Let's talk about movies.
Hey guys, welcome to the podcast. So, I don't know what's going on with our mic, and if anyone cares or wants to tune in, I sound like a freaking robot. Invader Zim's older brother, Darth Vader Zim. I don't know. But welcome back to the Pause, Rewind, Play podcast. It has been like a month or so, maybe even more since we last recorded, to be honest with you. And we're actually back with some same faces and with a special guest tonight. Josh, how you been?
What is up, everybody? Super glad to be back. Super happy to be here in 2020 talking about movies with you guys.
Crap, it's 2020 already?
I guess.
Tax season is coming, guys.
Oof, money.
Sorry to remind everyone.
I know, you had to bring us down right at the beginning.
Vince, how you been, man?
Good, I'm so happy to be back. I was really scared that the podcast was dead for a little while.
Oh, it was not gonna die. We were gonna be recording no matter what, whether it was in my car whilst driving between school and here, or somehow we would have figured it out.
Well, I'm glad we're pulling it off because this is a lot of fun. I enjoy doing this every week.
Well, me too. And then tonight we have a very special guest. He's one of my colleagues from work. Tristam, how's it going, man?
Hey, you.
Oh, come a little closer.
Is this better? Too close? Close? Too far away?
That's perfect.
All right.
Tell us about yourself, Tristam.
Well, I love to make love to microphones. It's
Oh.
my secondary passion. However, yeah, I have been a movie lover for a long time, so I'm really excited to be here. I think my first memories of hanging out with my family, it was like, hey, Saturday night, what movie are we going to watch? Even if it's crap, it's like, all right, let's do it.
I have a lot of memories as a kid of watching like spaghetti westerns and like different westerns with my dad. Like just all these old westerns are filmed in southern Utah, and that's like my childhood memories. And so I feel you, man.
So there's an episode of The Simpsons where Homer and Bart come home from whatever Blockbuster or whatever their movie rental store is, and they're so excited. And Marge and Lisa come over and they ask him, did you bring home this movie? And they're like dramas or chick flicks, and Homer's like, no, we brought home a better one. It's a Western starring John Wayne or whoever. I can't remember who it is. It's like this great one called Paint Your Wagon. And then they put it in and it's a musical and it's the best. Gonna paint your wagon, gonna paint it fine. Gonna use oil-based paint because the wood is pine. Ponderosa pine.
Wow.
So just so you all know, in 2020, since Vince now has Disney Plus, in lieu of asking all of you guys to watch The Dark Crystal, he will be making many, many Simpsons quotes.
Yeah, it's
like throughout the entire episode, all of our episodes. So just be prepared.
Very true. I grew up on The Simpsons. Like I used to watch it twice a day, 6 p.m. and 10 p.m. like every night. I was super, super fan. And now that it's so easily accessible, I've just been going through and watching every single episode again. It gets bad around season 15, if I remember right. And I'm on almost season 10 now. And so far, there's only been one episode where I've been like, this kind of sucks. And it was the one where the family goes to New York. Didn't really like that one. Every other one, though, classics. Solid. To this day.
Well, there you go.
So
be warned.
Expect some different Simpsons call-outs and references. And
The Simpsons. I said that and it made me sound like a robot. Well, guys, before we get going a little bit, what have you guys been watching? Josh, you want to kick us off with what you've been doing at the start of 2020?
Nothing much. So we've got Star Wars. I didn't know what to watch next after I finished Breaking Bad and everything, so I rewatched Stranger Things because it's what I do. Still super solid. Still love it. And then I've also just been watching a ton of movies. Award season is just around the corner. For when we're recording this, the Golden Globes are tomorrow. And then the Academy is having the Oscars 2 weeks earlier than normal. So I wanted to get really caught up, watch a lot of movies, both for our top 10 of 2019 rankings, as well as just my own personal wanting to know what's good and what's bad. So super excited. Been watching tons of movies.
Are we gonna do a predictions episode?
We should. You
For
know
Oscars?
that I'm all about that. I don't know if you guys
I think
care
it'd
as
be
much
fun.
about
I
it.
could argue about whether a movie is good or not,
Well, because
right?
we'll have the
Or if it was artsy.
the noms come out on the 11th, like Monday the 11th. So we could probably do
We can do
one.
our predictions, and whoever gets the most right gets the kickstart for
Kickstart
the
of
next
Glory.
Kickstart can of glory. I'll spray paint it gold.
I don't know if I'd drink it after you spray painted it.
No, it'll be an empty can. There'll be a trophy, and we'll start having the Kickstart can of glory every time we do like a competition or something going
Amen.
forward.
Let's do it.
I don't know, Vince. Besides The Simpsons, what have you been watching?
So I finally, I've been catching up on stuff that have been out for a while, but we flew out to North Carolina for Christmas, and when I go on airplanes, I kind of like to catch up on some of these like lower budget, slower drama, indies, whatever, you know. So I saw 4 movies in the past couple of weeks that really stood out to me. One of them was Lady Bird, Good Time.
Solid.
Yeah,
Sorry.
Lady
I
Bird
love
was
Lady
great.
Bird,
Yeah,
yeah.
it was really good. I also saw Good Time, starring the new Batman. I can't remember his name right now.
Robert Pattinson.
Robert Pattinson, which is really good because I wanted to see what he's kind of capable of with him becoming the new Batman. I also saw Dolomite Is My Name, which is
Eddie Murphy.
so funny. I loved it. And finally, last night, I finished Marriage Story.
Ah, yes.
Yeah, it was great. It was really, really good.
But I want to watch it. So
Do it, definitely do it. It's one of those ones that make you think about your own life a lot. You know, it's a drama about a couple going through divorce, and I'm in a very happy, loving marriage, but it also makes you think about like past relationships or like what, I don't know if you have any friends that have gone through divorces and stuff. You actually see kind of the stuff that people go through and the feelings that they have with each other, and it's really cool and made me think a lot anyway.
That's a Marriage Story. Check it out.
I like it. Tristam, you're up. You got to lean into the mic and tell us what you've been watching.
So I think my main passions have been for Star Wars, primarily The Mandalorian.
I can see your phone case.
Oh, nice.
Oh yeah, see, we got Boba Fett rolling around.
There you go.
So it's been definitely a highlight. Mandalorian, excellent. Baby Yoda, even more excellent. So I really enjoy it. Probably if I'm going external stuff, I've been hearing a lot about Narcos. Actually, highlight to you, you guys, except for Casey, because Casey already knows, I actually do speak Spanish. So hola, if we have any Spanish people listening, I can always throw in some references.
Awesome.
Anyway, so I heard Narcos was a really good story, and I actually started watching the Spanish version, and I've been blown away. So,
Was it originally made in Spanish or English?
Spanish.
Made in Spanish?
Actually, the interesting thing is even if you switch it into Spanish or any other dialects, the English stays the same, which is interesting.
Does it give it like English subtitles at the bottom or something?
Yeah, so it gives it English subtitles.
So pretty much just-
it gives the language subtitles, and the English part remains English, but then the Spanish language changes. So
so
it's
if
almost lazy. I don't know.
Right,
I don't
yeah,
know what
that's
to say
weird.
about it, but the Spanish version, totally worth it. Definitely enjoyed that, as well as, if we're going back even a little bit further, I actually got a chance to get in on your guys' podcast where you guys were talking about the Joker. That was probably my highlight of this last year. Just, I loved the Joker. I thought it was a great impression. I really thought when I'm spacing on his name now.
Joaquin Phoenix?
No, from the Dark Knight series.
Oh, Heath Ledger?
Heath Ledger.
Yeah.
Yeah. I really thought no one would be able to beat his performance, and Joaquin just was like, "Well, let's turn the coin."
You say he beats
And-
it?
What was that?
You say he beats it? He's better?
Yeah.
I'm not like putting up dukes.
Oh,
I'm
okay,
not
I
putting
get
up
you.
dukes or anything. We did
No.
our like rankings.
Whatever,
And
I
all
saw
of
you
us
tying
were,
your
like,
gloves
right
over
there.
Well, I wouldn't say beat, but I think he definitely rivals it and brings his own twist to the story
For sure.
in a way that it's entertaining, and you're not like, well, Heath Ledger was better. So I
It's
definitely
just
enjoyed
so
that.
hard to compare the two. Like, there's just such different characters that
Well, because you've got Arthur Fleck being played by Joaquin Phoenix, basically, and you have the Joker being played by Heath Ledger. So even though it is the same person, it is also two separate people.
one is very comic booky and the other one's very realistic. It's
Realistic.
hard to.
A character piece.
But that's very characteristic of the Joker in the same place, because I mean, look at how many different interpretations he's been through.
Mm-hmm.
You guys have already done a podcast on this. I think we better move on, or else we're gonna get stuck.
Love it.
Joker 2.
Star Wars 9/Joker 2.
Let's go.
Bringing it back around to Star Wars, though, were you ready to send death threats to Jason Sudeikis like some people after those baby Yoda punches?
You know what? I'm actually glad that I'm not upset about it.
That
Not at
someone
all.
punched Baby Yoda?
No, I'm not. I think
He's
it's
a
hilarious.
50-year-old. It's all good.
When I first saw him just bam, I was just like, oh wow, that stormtrooper does not care at all.
It was really
and
funny.
It was hilarious. I loved it. And I was like, okay, that was funny. And then all of a sudden here comes 4 more punches in the episode. This is hilarious that this guy's just
Baby Yoda.
And then they open the bag later and the Yoda's just like, what was that? I don't understand what just happened. And it's pretty great. But definitely I loved all the twists in the last episode. I think it was really good. I really believe that who's directing it? I'm forgetting his name right now.
J.J. Abrams?
No.
No.
he does
Is it John Favreau? Is that who's
I
directing?
think so.
It depends on the episode.
Yeah.
Well, no, because they have different directors
yeah.
for the episodes, but it's like Jon Favreau's baby.
Yeah.
Like the project is his.
Well, in that case, let's just say I feel like it's in
And
really
Dave
good
Filoni.
hands. I really think that they know what they're doing with it. I think that they have a good vision of it. They are looking. I mean, for the plots and twists, I don't know. Is it spoiler?
We need to keep it, slightly spoiler friendly. Yeah. I'm only on episode 2, but you guys, sorry guys, I started watching The Witcher and I'm obsessed. So
Yeah, is that what you're watching?
yeah,
let's
I
jump
can
to
go.
case.
I'm
for
just
it.
like you guys go for a minute here.
Yeah, no, go for it.
Tell me about
we'll
The
go back
Witcher,
in.
because I watched episode 1 and
Me too.
I fell asleep
not
and was
into
not
it.
impressed. I'm not out yet.
No,
It's
yeah,
just
I'm
that
gonna keep
episode 1
going.
didn't hook me in.
Listen to my exasperated. No, I get where you're coming from, right? So for me, I know nothing about the Witcher series, to be honest
Me
with you.
neither.
I've never read a book, I've never played a game, and one of my colleagues at work, his name is Eric, he loves the books, and he knows all about the games as well, and he's like, oh, The Witcher's going to be awesome, and he really built it up for me. So I watched the first episode, and I was like, it's okay. So I was like, that's how I felt, though, with Game of Thrones.
Yeah,
Was
that's
the
how a lot of
first
people
three-
felt about the whole first season of Game of Thrones.
Yeah, and so it took me 2 seasons to get into Game of Thrones, but now that it's kind of built in and built, the story's built out a little more, I'm liking it a lot. And I think everyone should give it a chance and just expect it's not Game of Thrones, but it is something in a way that is slightly comparable and that people should
Is
watch.
it better than the last season of Game of Thrones?
Yep. Also,
okay, then I'm invested. I'll
yeah,
take a chance.
I enjoyed it. I watched. Yeah, we've been that's what I've been watching by myself, and then I watched The Irishman as well. I have 15 minutes left, so I don't want to talk spoilers, but I watched all of it but 15 minutes. So I'm really pumped about that. And then I watched a couple of films.
Not to interject, but I have yet to met a person who's watched The Irishman just all the way through.
Yeah, how
in
many
a sitting?
How many
because of how
sittings have
long.
you?
3.
3?
My 4th will be the last 15
I
minutes.
think it took me 3 before I
You
finished
3,
it.
and then our friend, our buddy Cade, who was on the podcast before, also it took him 3.
That's a long freaking movie, though. That's the hard part.
3.5 hours. Like I'll look at a 3-hour movie and I'll be like, okay, I can do it 3 hours. But for some reason, that extra half hour is it's close to 4 hours.
That's hard though. It's you can go sit in a 2.5 hour movie. No big deal nowadays, right? You been 10 minutes on that. You're checking your watch. You're shifting in your seat uncomfortably. You're the neighbor next to me keeps farting. Whatever has happened in theater, right? It's all of a
June.
sudden.
Oh,
June does bother me. My dog farts all the time. But let me tell you a little bit about the other movies I've watched that I really enjoyed. While We're Young. I don't know if you guys have heard of that or saw that one. That's an Adam Driver film, and it has Ben Stiller in it. So it's Adam Driver's character is this young, up-and-coming kind of artsy guy, a director, and Ben Stiller's kind of the old guy who's kind of going out, and they kind of become buddies, and it's really cool. And then What We Do in the Shadows. I watched that for the first time, and I fell asleep about halfway through, then woke up again, and then fell asleep, and then woke up again. But every part I watched was hilarious. So that's one with Jermaine from Flight of the Conchords. It's a New Zealand film. It's
and it's directed by Taika Waititi.
yes, it's fantastic.
Is he in it too? I can't remember.
I can't remember off the top of my head.
I guess if you slept through it all.
Yeah, sorry. I kept sleeping and waking up, sleeping and waking up. And we started watching Messiah on Netflix, which is kind of an interesting film. It's really weird. We're on like episode 3, I think. Sorry, not season, but episode 3. And then I have to do a call out and shout out to my wife. Over the Christmas season, we watched The Muppets 6 times. The Muppets Christmas Carol.
Hey-o.
6 times. And guess what? I wasn't even sad a single time. That's a classic.
Casey's moving to Vince and I's side of the best Christmas movie ever is Muppet Christmas Carol.
We watched 2 Christmas movies this year. Only 2 the entire season. And it was Muppet Christmas Carol and The Krampus.
See, I watched Muppet Christmas Carol.
Yeah.
I watched Muppet Christmas Carol, the Santa Claus, like I think one other one with my wife, which I don't remember which one it was. And then I really, really wanted to watch the new Netflix one, Claus, the animated one. It has Rashida Jones and everyone like that, but I didn't get to it. So if you have any thoughts about Claus, let us know because I've heard good things about it.
Yep, and we'll put it on our list for next fall. All right, guys. Is it time to talk Star Wars Episode 9?
Speaking of tying the gloves here. You ready to fight?
Vince is ready to duke it out.
Okay, so here, let me just preface it with this. We were at work on Thursday or Friday, and Vince was like, you know what he's like, I have had... So Vince is a big fan of Episode 8 of Star Wars.
The Last Jedi.
Where a lot of people are not. And he said that he really wanted someone who disliked Episode 8 but loved Episode 9 to come and be on the podcast because he wanted to duke it out.
And well, let me
go
explain
further.
That. I wanted someone who hated Episode 8 and loved Episode 9 so that I can be the person that nitpicks the crap out of the movie and asks you the problems of the movie and forces you to answer the questions that aren't answered in the movie. See, after the movie came out, The Rise of Skywalker, I was pretty down on it. Josh listened to me rant for like an hour and a half after that first screening. I've seen it 3 times since. It's a fun movie. It's really, really fun movie. I can't say it's bad. You know, like it's really enjoyable. I could watch it over and over again. I watched it 3 times every time, or 4 times, and every time I was entertained. But there's so many plot holes in it, and there's so many things like nitpicks that I have, I guess. And after 2 or 3 days of complaining about this movie, I realized that I had become that person that I hated. That person that I'd been defending The Last Jedi to for 2 years. I had become that person. So like the roles were reversed. So this is my last time to be that person before I just let everything go and accept the movie for what it is, because it's a fun movie. I just have my problems with it.
So I actually got a question to start out. It's kind of an interesting question in a left field sort of way. Out of all the characters and their role development within Episode 9, who was the worst out of the main or sub-main characters?
Rose.
Go for it.
Rose wasn't even in it. She was cut out completely.
She was just an extra. She was not a part of this film. And it was very disappointing because of how much they built her up in the last film. She was like driving on the red sand or whatever, or this crap, going around doing stuff, a major part of it, and then nothing.
And don't tell me that she couldn't have been in it either. Like,
oh yeah, what did she get out of this? And I guess we're not. Are we spoiler free yet, or are we still?
Yeah, let's go into spoilers.
All right, spoilers are here. Spoilers are here. If you haven't watched the film, get out of here. Then come back and watch it again.
I just felt like Rose got the short end of the stick in The Last Jedi because she easily had the worst role out of everybody in the movie. Like I like The Last Jedi, but I admit there's a lot of faults in The Last Jedi. Rose had the short end of the stick, and during the making of and the marketing for The Rise of Skywalker, I saw multiple, clips and articles about JJ saying, no matter what the internet says, no matter how much hate she gets, because she got a lot of hate, like death threats, like she quit social media because people were just crappy to her, like so crappy to her. And so they put all this marketing into, hey, she's coming back, you're not gonna win, blah blah blah. And then she's barely in the movie. She shows up long enough to say, hey, I'm not gonna go with you guys. And then at the end, when it should be the engineer that's like solving this big problem with Finn on how to like destroy destroy the hangar or whatever, or the
main cabin.
main cabin. Like, wouldn't an engineer be the perfect person to come over and fiddle with all the pieces and stuff with
Yeah,
Finn?
she's hanging back.
They
Instead,
have
she
a
gets a
relationship
rogue
together,
Star.
and instead she just like stands off to the
They
side.
just have
and
to
it's
set
so
up.
sad.
They have to set up the character for their new Disney Plus series, Vince.
That is true, because the lady that kind of replaced her that was on the ship with Finn, the Naomi Aki, yeah, she was the one that the other ex-Imperial stormtrooper. I mean, she definitely kind of took the role that Rose would have been perfect for in that situation. I mean, don't get me wrong, I didn't like Rose's character, but
I didn't either.
yeah. So I
But
mean,
still, she's a part of it. Sorry.
yeah, she's a part of it, and I think the outlash shouldn't have been directed at her as the actress. I mean, it was obviously writing. I think it was writing. She had a terrible role. She tried to do the best that she could with it, and rolled with it, and you know,
And it wasn't accepted. Yeah.
Yeah, and I mean,
yeah.
you saw it. I think J.J. Abrams, he didn't want to let on that she was affected by what everyone was saying, because obviously she got off social media and everything else. And before I actually got in the movie, I heard about all that, and that she actually was asking to be in less of the movie to mitigate
really?
some of that. So I went in with that effect, and so I knew I would see less of her. So she wasn't actually my character that I was kind of disappointed with.
I didn't hear about that. That's interesting.
So for me, I don't know. I think that I probably would have like gone with Rose as far as like character development and everything like that. I also think that for me it was sort of Finn, because even though Finn had like a lot of stuff happen like with him and he was in a main part of the movie, he just seemed so like, I don't know. They in each one of the new movies in 7, 8, 9, they like start to move one direction with him, and then sort of not like U-turn, but just like a sharp turn. Like, actually, like he's kind of do this and be like this thing. Actually, we're gonna turn to the right. He's gonna be a little more this way, and they like set up like, not even just relationship wise, obviously in other things, but like relationship wise for Finn, they're like, yeah, he's gonna be, you know, like him and Rey. They could actually, you know, him and Rose, like they could be. He's like, no, like Disney Plus. People are wondering about the future of Star Wars. We are going to blatantly like put in like a plug for like our next like Disney Plus series into the like finale of the movie with like the new girl and finding out where she's from, and like Finn sort of going that way. So it's just, for me, it wasn't that like he didn't develop as much as his development across the whole entire final trilogy has just been a hot mess.
Finn had 3 love interests throughout the series. Rey, and then that didn't work out, and then Rose, and then that didn't work out, and now this new girl.
Well, this is reality in movies now, so I mean, it just goes and goes and goes.
That's how life is.
What about you, Case?
I already said it. Like, I'm with Rose. Like, I was really disappointed they didn't utilize her more, because she was an engineer, right? She had so much to offer, skills that were needed. And they're just like, oh, we'll put you in the back with Mary from Lord of the Rings.
Also, the
Yeah.
person that we're CGIing into the movie who's not actually here.
Oh,
like you're gonna
gosh.
be hanging out with that.
Okay, this is. Can I rant about this for a second?
Did we ever get Tristan's answer about?
Yeah, do we get your answer? Sorry, I'm just gonna start
Before we
ranting
move
about
on,
this.
sorry.
But who was your least favorite? Since you asked this question, I'm gonna ask it back. Who was your least favorite of the character developments?
I would say out of all the character developments, you know, it's tough because at first I really disliked Poe's development. Out of all this series, or the 3 films that they've been in, I felt like he was just kind of on the back burner. I mean, Rose, I went in expecting it, so I didn't really look at her as character development. She was just more supporting. It was her choice as far as my thinking when I was going in, so it didn't really affect me. But, you know, I think my answer is turning towards Finn because, I mean, that was a great answer, and I really think that would side with it. Plus, Poe did have that development with that sweet little thing he did have on the side, and I thought that was a great little side
right.
storyline. So
With the
Which
one
one?
chick.
Oh,
For how
yeah.
he used to be involved into everything.
dark shadows in the eyes that look dreamily at you. So.
Wait, can I change my answer?
Sure.
Dude, General Hux.
Oh.
He freaking fell on his face. Not only because he died, but because he freaking sucked this time. That's all.
I actually loved what they did with General Hux for this one.
I thought it was fantastic. It really put his character in a perfect place. There wasn't much more you could do with him.
No.
He was done. He just wanted his revenge. And everyone kind of saw through it, and it was just like, well, what's the point of having this guy around anymore? And I think it was fantastic role.
And I recognize, right, that he had been this big leader, that he had been all this, he'd fallen from grace or whatever you want to call it. And he was just not sneaky. He was just like a very colorful worm inching through the middle of a conversation. He's like, I'm here to steal your secrets. And it wasn't good, and I was just disappointed. I figured like a guy like that who'd probably had to like kiss some butts to get up where he was, like I figured that he would have a little bit more of like that sly espionage-esque ability. Nothing.
See, here's the thing about Hux though, is he didn't have to kiss butts to get where he was. Hux was born into the First Order. His daddy was a like high-ranking general.
Oh, was he?
And so when Hux grew up, he just kind of like riding his daddy's coattails and trying to play this role of like, oh, I'm the big bad guy. I'm the guy who's going to stand up in front of the First Order, and I'm the one who's going to give the speeches. And then Kylo Ren comes along. And there's a line in The Last Jedi, too, where Snoke's just like, why do you I can sense you're wondering why I keep such lowly dogs or whatever around, because they have their uses or whatever. And then his story arc is so cool because he's going up, he's doing well, and then Kylo Ren shows up and he plateaus. And then when Kylo Ren becomes the leader of the First Order, he basically gets shoved down because that competition, once Kylo Ren stepped up above him, he just pushed him down, like, you are no longer my equal. You are going to be the lowest of the high-ranking people. I'm not going to listen to anything you say. He even calls him out when he gets his helmet on, like, you got a problem, Hux? What are you doing? So it's like, it makes sense that Hux just gets to this point where he's just like, he wants to be back in power. He wants to get to be the leader, but he can't get past Kylo Ren. So what does he do? He tries to find a way to help the enemy, because the enemy of my enemy is my friend,
I think that's a great analogy.
And then I loved the way he died. I loved how just like out of nowhere, you think he's gonna get away with his stupid little sham getting shot in the leg.
Shoot me, yeah.
And the guy just turns around and blasts him and drops him on the ground.
Like, the death is good, but I felt like his execution failed. And now that I have a little bit more insight, that's interesting. I learn new things.
Yeah. I actually think that was, and I don't
you're good.
get to you, but I definitely think that was some great development for the other officer, played by Richard Grant.
Oh, right.
Yeah, because, I mean, the thing is, here's this guy, never seen him before in an episode. This is the last one of the series, so he's got to make some sort of impact, right? And so you see that he can see through this. You're like, okay, this guy's evil. This guy doesn't care. He's just going to shoot down one of his own people because he knows he's a spy. Not even going to be like, hey, let's ask him questions. What's going on? He's just, I don't care about you. You're my enemy. Done. And then brought to a whole nother level. And I'm really glad that they put Greer in this role, is because when he actually does the kneel in front of the Emperor, just like Darth Vader, and he's like, as I've served you in the years before, I will serve you now. I'm like,
in front of
this guy is evil. This guy is pure evil. He is going to hunt down everyone, and he is going to lay down the law. And I was like, this is a great role for this guy. Even though he's not a big role, it still was a sweet touch, I felt like.
Yeah, he played it perfectly, and that was all we needed from him. Someone pointed out to me that they thought that he was being hinted at as the mole, the traitor in the First Order.
Mm-hmm. That's what I thought at first.
I did not put that together.
Really?
Huh.
I was like, that guy's the mole, because we haven't seen him before, right? So it's like, he's the mole.
And it kept shooting him in ways like shadow across his face, except for one ray of light while they were talking about it and stuff. But I never put that together until someone told me about it, and then I rewatched it, and I was like, oh, I can see that.
And there you go. All right, Casey, we have reached the time for your rant, I suppose.
Rant commencing now. Okay, so I had a hard time with this in the last film, to be honest with you. Like, Leia going out into space and then suffocating in cold space and then using the Force to get back in the ship bothered me. And it's bothered me ever since.
Why?
And
they provide a solution.
Wait, let's just hear him out.
Sorry.
I just didn't like it.
Okay.
I just don't think
because it looked goofy, or are you just against her
I'm just
using the Force in that way?
the use of the Force in that way. But now, having watched a few other things, I recognize that we only saw the Force to do this, to pull lightsabers, to read minds, and stuff like that. And then getting into a little bit more, there were deeper ends of the Force that Luke probably discovered when he went to the temple, discovered all the books, and yada, 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 right?
The sacred texts.
Yeah, the sacred texts of the knights who say "ni." But, like, for me, what was really hard was it just wasn't what I expected. And, like, Carrie Fisher died, like, rest in peace, like, support love for all of her talent. But I felt that Mark Hamill's character, Luke, had a bigger part to play in it, which he played in the Force. And I know everyone's going to be like, well, smash the patriarchy, whatever, he needed to be gone. But no, like, I don't think he needed to be gone. I think that his character had more to offer us. But then, like, they CGI'd a character in, and she was in a good amount of the film, but not a huge amount, right? And it was just really hard because, like, in my mind, I was like, she was already dead when they were filming this, the actress. And it's just like when they brought back the one general in the first reboot series. I forget what his name is. Tarkin. And that guy was all CGI too, because he died a long time ago.
So the only difference between the two is the Carrie Fisher scenes were actually scenes shot, and they were from deleted scenes from The Force Awakens.
Oh, really?
So they actually had her acting. They weren't just CGI'd into it. Mm-hmm. But I agree with you. Like, I wonder, I love her, and that's awesome what they were able to do with it. But you could tell that they were like stale, and the lines weren't like
so generic. Like,
Yeah.
I believe in you. We need to get this done. Like stuff like that.
Yeah, it just the experience of the Leia we've known built throughout the series, like the original trilogy, right, and then the first two, and then this one was more like you bought 4 loaves of bread at the supermarket and you're down to like the hill and the last 6 slices of the last one. It was kind of like, this bread sucked. I could have bought a new loaf, you know. And that was all. That's how I felt about it. I did not like it. So that's me. I didn't like Leia's presence in this film. I could care less if they'd brought Qui-Gon back. If they brought Jar Jar Binks back in, I would have been just as happy at this point. And it's not that like
ew.
but it's just, I just felt that was a stale part in this film. Yeah.
Me so happy, Casey.
It's sad because you see what the movie could have been if she wouldn't have passed away. And
Yes.
that's the most heartbreaking thing about it, because I loved having her in there, but it was just like we said, it was just so stale, and it was so just like generic lines and that kind of stuff. Could you imagine if she had survived in a different reality, you know, if she was still with us and was able to come in, actually having scenes with her, with, you know, training Rey, having her be the person who gives her lightsaber to Rey instead of having Luke being like, oh yeah, back in the day when me and Leia were training together, she saw a vision where her story would end and her son or someone would pick up her lightsaber and it would be the end of her son, you know, instead of have some random like generic line like that trying to explain how or where you get the lightsaber, to actually have her there to hand it over. And then again, I liked having Harrison Ford back to have that moment with Ben where he's able to like forgive or to, you know, come to terms with what happened with Han Solo. But could you imagine how strong that would have been if that was
But it would
his
have
mom?
been better with Leia. Mm-hmm. Yeah, like I said, it was great to have Harrison Ford back, and you know that they wanted to bring him back for a moment. Of course, if they could have him back, they're like, yeah, we need to get him in there because we're sort of paying respects to the whole Star Wars, everything, right? But it would have been better if it was the moment with his mom, because his mom is really the only one who's ever really been able to connect with him in that way that would have been able to get him to change his mind in that moment, in my opinion.
I mean, it was set up in The Force Awakens. No, Last Jedi, when he almost shoots the ship and then he doesn't pull the trigger, you know?
Right.
She's the only one that's able to get through to him. So it just sucks. It sucks that
His
that we
dad's
lost
not.
her.
That's why he killed him, because his dad was there, tried to talk reason to him once. It didn't work.
Well, I happily disagree.
Happily, though.
Yeah, happily. Yeah.
Let's hear it, happy man.
So, and I think this is a tie into a lot of creative thinking between The Last Jedi as well as The Force Awakens. And so I'm going to kind of delve back into that. And it seems it all originates around this cutscene between when Kylo Ren's out there ready to blow up the bridge, all the way up to when Carrie Fisher is floating back into the hub so she can be healed. Right. Exactly.
Sorry, I had to send that out.
Yeah. So I think as far as we're talking with Carrie Fisher's dialogue and everything, I think her Force abilities should have been exploited a lot more in The Last Jedi. Building that trust, building her story, building her taking on Rey as an apprentice. I like that she became the Jedi Master for Rey and teaching her. I do agree there could have been a little bit more. But then again, we were just talking about how films, when they get up to 3 hours, 3.5 hours, are like, oh, please end. I can't do this anymore. And we're already stretching that pretty far with this last episode, right? So I really love her development as well as Han's. And I really think it comes down to that scene when Rey and Kylo are fighting on the actual Death Star wreckage right there.
Pretty cool.
Because I agree, Kylo Ren's mom or Carrie Fisher, she had a influence on Kylo like none other that could stop him and make him think about what's going on. And the way that she reached out in the Force and got him to stop and show, it was just such a beautiful moment. Like I'm like tearing up. It's so great because not only did she get Kylo Ren to stop and wonder about who he is, we also got to see Rey and her dark side coming out. And then all of a sudden, that life force that Leia used to reach out to Kylo Ren is gone when Ben is stabbed. I'm like going between actor names and character names, but hopefully everyone's following along here. If not, pull out a dialogue, you'll get it. So to watch all that mess going on all at the same time, and that character development was so beautiful to me. Like, magic fingers. I love it. Because not only do you get to see that development, get to see that there's a change in Ben, you get to see that Rey is struggling as a character development, that she really is touched by the dark side, and that she recognizes it as soon as she sees or she feels Leia's presence leaving. But you get that development continuing on with the story. But then also, I really do love Han Solo's reappearance, because that to me shows in episode 7, I felt it was kind of anticlimactic when Han Solo died. I was like, come on, like, you're killing him and this isn't a super vital spot. Like, he's trying to turn him. Then I'm like, well, I kind of saw that coming. Like, this sucks. Like, I'm not happy with this. And now we're going to go blow up this Death Star again. Okay. Anyways, but to have him come
Star
back.
Killer Base, excuse you?
Yeah.
I'm sorry, I just had to pull
Death
that
Star
in.
3.0. Thank you.
No, but for real though. Okay, so number 1, Death Star 3.0. Like, I don't know about you guys, I was sick of it. Oh my goodness. They had the Death Star, they had the other Death Star, and now finally we have, you know what, let's just make it easier. Like, all of these ships can just like blow up planets. Like, why not? Like, let's go ahead and do it.
We've had 4 Death Stars in this series. And in a movie that was made to please the audience so blatantly, why did they do that again? That was the number one complaint of The Force Awakens, was why are we doing the Death Star again? And then they come in with Star Wars, The Rise of Skywalker, written by the fanboys of Reddit, and put more Death Stars into this, but they're smaller and there's thousands of them this time.
It's gotta be the biggest stakes. It's ending. I did have a question that I wanted to ask you, something that Vince and I have talked about. So obviously a big fan complaint from episode 8 was the lack of lightsaber fights during episode 8. Episode 9, we obviously got more than enough of people fighting with lightsabers with each other. My question is, were the lightsaber fights that we got in episode 9 worth it?
Yes.
We had them the whole, not the fact that we had them, the ones that we were given, were they worth it? Were they cool enough? Did they do enough for you guys? Because for me, I'm not gonna lie, I watch the lightsaber fights and I enjoy them a lot more than just like these crazy huge battle scenes, because it's a lot more intimate. You can do a lot more cooler individual moves, and you can see things right down bare to the bone. And I just was underwhelmed with the actual lightsaber fights that were given. I did not feel like it was worthy of a Star Wars finale where we've had so many cool lightsaber fights throughout the year. I felt like the moves were slow. I felt like there was nothing super original. I just was underwhelmed.
I feel like these lightsaber battles and duels that we got here were different. They were more unique. Were they the high flying of 1, 2, and 3? No, they were not. They weren't as they weren't just as wow to me, to be honest with you, but they had a different purpose, I feel, because they're supposed to show the conflict between Rey and Kylo Ren and her desire to free Kylo Ren from Ben, or Ben from Kylo Ren type thing is how I feel.
Or kill him, Casey.
Or kill him. Death to Kylo
But for me,
Ren.
it's like they're having this fight, and I feel bad that they're having this lightsaber fight on top of the Death Star in the middle of a raging ocean, and the coolest part about it is like the waves crashing around them, not the actual fights. They're like slow, and it's just like 1, 2, 3. Like I don't know. That was just me.
That's fair.
So first off, I want to go back to what you're saying about Ben and Rey's story arc. I 100% agree with you. They hold this trilogy together. If it wasn't for those two and that relationship and the exploration of someone evil with the pull to the light side and someone good with such a pull to the dark side, is such a cool idea. I just wanted to hurry and wrap that up. Like, that's easily the best part of this movie. Mm-hmm. I'm with you though, Josh. Like, too much of a good thing can kind of end up being a bad thing, and they do have some really cool lightsaber moments in this. Like,
right. It is the best part about this photo. I pulled up a still here of a lightsaber battle.
Is that the one? With the water crashing around.
Yeah, the best part is the elements. Like, I'll give that to you. I will hands down give that to you. I kind of want to watch a video of it and see, but we don't.
But we do have those lightsaber moments, like the one where Rey is in Kylo's bedroom or wherever she is, and they're like fighting each other through the Force while he's down on the planet and she's up on the thing.
Okay, can you
But
explain
that didn't
to
make
me?
sense. None of that made sense.
Can you explain that to me? I don't know what that is. Like, how are they like? Oh, I'm on the planet. I'm in a room.
So it was established in The Last Jedi that they have some sort of connection. It was established that Snoke was the one who started this connection between the two of them, and then they retconned it, so who knows what the heck is going on anymore.
Yes.
But they have a connection. They're a dyad in the Force, so they're able to connect and talk to each other from long distances.
Yeah,
you know?
and Palpatine was even amazed that they had this ability that it hadn't been heard of in thousands of years. So
Yeah.
it's a cool twist that it's like, hey, you're not going to see this in the original 6, but this is an ability that's existed. It's just very, very rare.
Mm-hmm. And one of my friends from work, we don't work together anymore, but we still talk. He's a super fan, and he has some novelization where it kind of explains some of the backstory that didn't get explained in the movie. Apparently, the rule of 2 that the Sith have, they introduced the idea of if you translate that Sith language that explains the rule of 2, it can be translated in a way that kind of sounds kind of like the Force dyad or something, which is one of my biggest problems with this movie. Is like, what, everything is moving so fast that they don't have any time to slow down and focus on one thing and explain one thing to us, because they introduce something and you're like, wait, what's this? And all of a sudden they're like, no, shh. We're moving on to the next thing already.
Well, because that's one of the things that you and me talked about when we first spoke about it, was that they do all of these new things that are such like big, and they move the Star Wars story forward, which is good, is that we like those things. We like the development. We like to say, hey, there's this new thing that we've never seen before. But unless you've read hours and hours of fan fiction, you don't know like what the heck is going on. Mm-hmm. And so instead of explaining it, it turns into, hey, they can do these new things. Why can they do it? That is an excellent question, but we're not going to talk about it because we have to fit an entire series worth of endings into this. And we have to please everyone who wants to see it.
This brings up my question. I've seen people online blaming Rian Johnson for this, that it's because of his movie that we didn't have time to get all this explanation in for what goes on in The Rise of Skywalker. We wasted 2.5 hours on The Last Jedi. It's his fault that we're not getting a better movie. Do you guys think that it is his fault? Do you guys think that it's J.J. Abrams' fault for abandoning all of the plot threads that he set up or wrote out during his movie? Or is it Lucasfilm's management's fault for allowing whatever they did to happen? Did you understand my question? Like,
Yeah.
Whose fault is this that we
Response-
got this type of movie?
Response number 1, before I forget it, I was surprised by the extreme lack of lens flares in this movie. Sorry.
You
Anyways,
learned
keep
his lesson
going.
from Star Trek.
Well, ditto to what Josh said. But the reality of it is I think this was like a multi-level issue. I don't think it was just one director's fault. I think that because of the fan base meets the director, meets the studio, meets Disney, that they literally just said, here's 4 piles of ideas. Now let's run with them. And they probably had writers rewriting stuff during the filming. They're like, this is a good idea. And then they run one way and then like, hold on, take 4 steps this way, run the same way now, And it changed everything, but I could be wrong. I don't know. I think they tried to make a movie that would make money. That's how I feel about this. Is they knew what would make money and they're making it. So, I don't know.
Well, if you look at episodes 1, 2, and 3, fans were still not satisfied, even though George Lucas himself was the director for them. Exactly. And I think this is what's the main issue is. Now, I do believe that some blame falls on Rian Johnson. I don't think completely. I don't think a lot of it was his fault, but I feel like he was restricted in his movement. And I'm actually more so upset at him that he didn't take the strings that J.J. Abrams left from 7 and throw them into his movie and help tie it together with his director's vision. I think that's basically Rian Johnson's fault for that. Otherwise, I think it goes higher up the chain.
So that's my question is he didn't do that and he made it go a different way. So is it the next director's fault? Is it the next director's responsibility to do what he did and just abandon whatever storylines they've set up and make his own movie? Or is it, do you see what I'm saying? Right, like J.J. Abrams did the exact same thing that Rian Johnson did. J.J. Abrams set up this mystery box of ideas. Rian Johnson took it in a direction that J.J. Abrams wouldn't have, set up a bunch of ideas, and then J.J. Abrams took it back and went in a bunch of directions that Rian Johnson wouldn't have. Like whose fault is that at this point? Like,
I feel
because he just did the same thing that Rian Johnson did.
Well, I feel like, and again, this is a huge whole mess. So to try to tie it up in a few words, which will not be very successful, is that there was fans upset from 7. There's fans upset from 8. Different crowds, different audiences, but both upset, right? Now, a lot of people are upset in 8 because they're like, oh, who are the Knights of Ren? Oh, what's this backstory? What's going on here? And where the points that were exciting weren't developed. At very least, he should have thrown the Knights.
Yeah,
of Ren
the Knights of Ren were a huge disappointment.
Yes, I agree. Even his
Knights of Ren sucked.
Yeah.
Snoke's Imperial Guards were cooler than the Knights of Ren.
Yes, they were. The Knights of Ren were like a big old fart. That's what they were. They were just there, and you walk through them, and you're like, well, it's happened. I don't know how to say it. Like I was expecting a lot when Ben shows up, and he has to fight them, and I was just like underwhelmed and unimpressed. But it was cool.
If you time it, I think he beats them quicker than he beated the guards for a Snoke. So, yeah, definitely an underwhelming arc story. But to give kudos to J.J. Abrams, this is the one thing I feel like he did well with this movie, is he tied in a lot of the loose ends that were like, hey, Snoke, this guy is really cool. Like, I was really impressed with Snoke, and then he died. And then it was the end. And I was like, well, okay, great. You took the cool part of this story and you just tossed it in the flames. So to have him bring that back and tie that in, I was, again, magic fingers here. I was really happy with that. I was really happy with a lot of tie-ins that he brought in. He tied in stuff from his story as well as Rian Johnson's. And I think that was a big thing. You're on a time restraint. They stated before the movie came out that this was going to be the last one of the Skywalker series. So you can't really do much with time development, and it's really hard. The whole... I'm spacing on his name now. Finn. It just bad. I don't know what they were trying to do with that. It could have been cut out completely, and they could have put in other character development. It's hey, I got to tell you something, and then nothing. It was, hey, let's bring this up like 6 times. Hey, what were you going to tell me? Hey, what were you going to tell Rey? Hey, what was I going to tell you again? Nothing. We don't got time for it anymore. So let's just move on to other storylines and develop those, please.
So if we want to talk about one of the storylines that obviously has been waiting to be tied up the entire trilogy, let's talk about how you guys felt about the big twist of the movie with Rey's ancestry and heritage. If you liked it, disliked it, saw it coming, didn't see it coming, what were your guys' main reactions to that?
I loved it. Like, that was cool. Like, that's like I don't know. The world of Star Wars is a big place, right? Galaxy far, far away. You can go to different galaxies. You have light speed. You're cruising around. But Rey is Palpatine's granddaughter? What? It was really awesome. I liked it. I thought that was a good twist.
So for me, just like to throw my quick 2 cents, because I don't have a ton of thoughts about it, is that I liked it, but I also thought, I don't know, maybe I'm like crazy. Maybe I don't know enough about it either. I thought it felt a little bit like kind of forced, and they're like sitting after they finished making episode 8, they're like, all right, episode 9, we have to decide. We've been teasing everyone this whole time with what is like Rey's heritage and her ancestry and stuff, and everyone's like, I don't know, what should we do? And they're like, what if we bring back Palpatine and she's related to him? Like, what if we do that? Everyone's like, that could work. So I liked it. I thought that it was cool, but it was sort of just like,
can I build something off
interesting
of what
to
you're
throw
talking
in.
about right now?
Go ahead.
So we need to talk about Palpatine really fast because he goes along with this. Like, 1, the twist, but 2, was that weird?
They
To
just
anyone
threw
else?
him in.
They just put like a cyberbotic being floating from like a string, moving around like waving arms like the prophet, and here you are. Like, it's like, what is that? Like, I don't know. How'd you guys feel about that? To go along with this twist.
Also, how did you feel about the practically like no introduction? They just wanted us to take from the trailer, hey, Palpatine's back, like just accept it. We're starting like with that as the base.
See, this was my least favorite part of the movie. I absolutely loved the humor in this movie. Poe and Finn's relationship is so much fun to watch. Even with Rey, like that fight with Poe and Rey at the beginning about the Millennium Falcon on fire and BB-8 falling apart.
Where they're
like,
light speed skipping? That's pretty cool.
yeah,
That
it's
was
all
an
really
awesome
cool.
scene.
And I really love their relationships, and I love seeing all that kind of stuff. But when it came to the Palpatine stuff, it's all so shallow. Like I don't know. It didn't explain from the beginning. Like, I expected this movie to have some mystery to it. You know, like them slowly figuring out that Palpatine was there and then figuring out what he's doing, and not just from the get-go, Palpatine's back, the dead speak, you know, and then you jump into it and you're off to the races, like literally running through the whole thing.
Literally from the beginning, they're just like, all right, in
Yeah.
the little scroll up, yep, Palpatine is back.
And then it doesn't
everyone knows
really, like, there's some kind of, like, small sideline where it's just, like, Sith magic, cloning. Like, that's the explanation. It's like, well, what? You know? And when they had this really cool idea with Darth Plagueis introduced clear back in the prequels that they could have explored. So it was just so shallow, and to bring back someone so important, I loved the idea of Palpatine coming back, and because that's his character. He's always been in the background manipulating things and doing stuff, and you know, he's has some sort of foresight that he knows what to do, but none of this was explained. How did he get thousands of ships? Who is running those thousands of ships? I looked it up. One of those Star Destroyers houses 37,000 people, and there's like 1,000 of those ships. Where did he get all those people? Who are these Sith, you know, these Sith cultists? Like,
Are they clones?
I don't know. Like, that's my biggest problem.
What
And-
if he didn't actually get the materials, like didn't have to harvest them, build them? What if he just used the Force to clone ships and clone people, so each one has
Can the Force clone ships?
Well,
Like,
with what we're learning, they can do about anything else. You can heal people. You can float in space. I don't know.
You can project
just-
yourself across the universe.
it needed something in there to, I don't know, just Palpatine was so shallow, down to the point at the end where I didn't understand the Force dyad. I didn't understand what it meant to have all the Sith within him. Like, is that literal? Does he literally have all the Sith within him, or is he being figurative? Like, what's his plan? He keeps telling people, hey, go kill Rey. Kylo, go kill Rey. Go kill Rey. But in the end, he's like, I didn't want you dead after all. I keep telling everyone to kill you, but really, I just wanted you brought back. I mean, for someone who's been manipulating Ben Solo for so many years, being all the voices in Ben Solo's head, why didn't he just, like, continue doing that and turn on the voice of Darth Vader and be like, yo, Ben, like, go get Rey and bring her to this planet for me? Like, why did he decide to show himself in the first place? He could have just kept manipulating people from the background, getting Ben to do stuff. I just don't understand what his purpose was. And then when it comes right down to it, he uses Force lightning in the exact same way that he did in the prequels.
He's just the same.
And in the prequels, like, he melted his own face off. And so what does he decide to do this one? In this one, he decides to melt his own face off again. Like,
He turned up the lightning to 11.
I don't understand what his plan was, or like, he just it seemed to cheapen the character, because the character that I know is, I am the all-powerful. I am the Senate. I am the Emperor. If I can't have the power, no one can. So if I'm going to die, y'all are going down with me. I'm going to take down every single planet. I'm going to kill all life, because if I'm not going to win, no one is. And then all of a sudden in this one, he's like, no, you're my granddaughter. You can take my throne.
This has been your Star Wars 9 roast by Vince Bradley.
But what did you think, Vince? Like, was it cool that he was connected to Rey, or was it just more
okay,
like...
so bringing it back to that.
Yeah. But I liked your rant, by the way. I appreciated that rant a lot. Also,
I've been talking a lot.
One thing I want to talk about is how much better the Sith throne is than the Iron Throne. Because according to this book I have over here, the Iron Throne is supposed to be pretty freaking intense in Game of Thrones. And it's literally like a smoosh. But like this like Sith throne is like,
it's threatening.
Oh, it's like what I imagine the Night King having beyond. So it's tight. So yeah, sorry. Thank you.
I do love what they did with him having the like he looked cool. His body's all like decaying, and they had that flashing like light that made his face change depending on like the light. Like it looked really cool. I really wish they could have done more with him. I think more than anything, I just feel like the opportunity was missed, you know? As for the Rey being his granddaughter thing, I'm not a fan, because I really loved the idea of Rey being nobody. That was one of the messages from the previous movie, was that you don't have to be a part of this family to be somebody and to play a role in the fate of the universe. And after being told that and then coming into this movie, I just kind of felt like I had whiplash, because it's like all of a sudden, you know, you're a nobody. You can do anything, and then all of a sudden it's like, oh, but except for you, Rey. You know, a nobody can do anything except for you. You're actually a part of the family, and it just kind of cheapened it for me. I liked the idea of Rey being from nothing and coming up from nothing, you know. And the set, or I guess the biggest disappointment was the way that they delivered it was not shocking. It was just, and it goes, I keep going back to this, it goes to the pace of the movie. It didn't give you any time to like take it in and be like, oh crap, she's Palpatine's daughter. You know, she does things throughout the movie that it's like, oh, she's leaning into the dark side, no wonder, you know. But it doesn't give you any like slow emotional moments like they did with The Last Jedi, where you explore what she's really thinking and the way she feels about it. And it's just kind of like Kylo Ren shows up, he's like, hey, you really were a nobody, but not really. You were a Palpatine. Anyway, let's move on to the next thing. That's my
rebuttal.
I have an answer to all your doubts and fears.
Whoa, are you the Sith Lord?
Come join
or
me.
is he Luke over here saying, stop worrying about it so much, kid?
No, I think this really goes deep down into a lot of lore, and you have to go into it having seen all the other episodes, seen the cartoon series, played the video games, because they really tied
I have, though.
everything. So follow me here.
Follow
me here. And again, like, I agree with you. I definitely would have preferred her to have no origin story. But then again, we're coming back to developing characters. There just wasn't enough time. They didn't do it right in the first two. And so, I mean, remember episode 7 when it ended? Everyone's like, here's Kylo Ren, who's been like a Jedi Knight, or, you know, has been trained by Jedi, has had all these skills, and he's beaten by this person who's never picked up a lightsaber until 2 minutes ago. Like, come on, really?
I was fine with it. I mean, he got shot with a bowcaster that has been shown throughout the movie to blast people across the room. And then all of a sudden, so he's missing a big old chunk of himself. He's distracted. He's known to be, like, hot-headed, so he's not focused. Anyway.
So agreed with that. However, I feel like, again, it's J.J. Abrams is tying in, and he's trying to resolve a lot of fan base resolve, and he's just like, hey,
totally get that.
If we already know how powerful Palpatine is and that he was able to wipe out the entire Jedi Order, the chances that his posterity would be equally powerful in the Force, totally believable to me, made it worth the arc. And because I already have all that backstory filling in that, even though it was at a quick pace, I was fine with it. So it's like, oh, she's got Force lightning and this thing destroys this boat? Fine with me. Makes total sense because she's a Palpatine. And we know how that goes. But that's kind of as far as like that arc goes. With Palpatine, I feel like a lot of people that were in the creative rooms thinking about this, and I am a Star Wars nerd. And so like I've read a couple of the books. I went into it when it was still a lot of stuff before it was X'd out, and they weren't going to go over it again. But they did talk about cloning and how after the Caminos, the big tall skinny people that make clones,
The cloners.
yeah. There was a whole arc, and they haven't really gone over that, Disney, since, in the books and whatnot. They said that, the Emperor Palpatine, he destroyed them because they were being weird and whatnot.
Yeah, didn't
So-
they get destroyed, their planet?
The Camino?
Yeah.
No, not the
know.
planet, but he did wipe them out and basically was like, hey, if you
No
try to
more
clone
clones.
people, then I'm going to completely extinct your race. And so basically that's why one of the reasons the clones were obsolete. It didn't really get explained. They technically X'd it out because it was part of Legends. But
So is Palpatine a clone in this?
yes, Palpatine is a clone in this.
Okay.
Now, here's going into the thing about Rey becoming the Empress. I feel like you got something brewing in the front of your brain, Casey.
What are you talking about? Palpatine's a clone?
Yeah, Palpatine's a clone.
What?
Yeah.
I mean, okay,
What?
because that was one of my biggest problems because,
He's a disheveled old man.
Palpatine blew up twice. He got thrown down a pit and blew up, and then the whole Death Star got blown up. How does he come back from that?
Leia's
Cloning would
force
answer
shield,
it.
man. He has an electricity force shield, though. And he just went, whoa, with his little frog head down the pipe. I don't know.
Definitely dead in the Death Star reactor, for sure. But
So how long has this clone been floating around?
so Emperor Palpatine,
And
this
which
goes back
one's
to
the
all-
clone? Is he the clone, or is the one that got thrown down the Death Star hole the clone? Oof.
No, I believe that the one thrown down the hole is the original.
He was the actual.
Yeah.
Okay,
The-
good, because that would have cheapened Darth Vader's story if it was.
Oh yeah, for sure. And I think one way to prove that is you saw how deformed he was. Mm-hmm. So the cloning process wasn't perfect. I think it's something that, again, you kind of have to have a background into it to really fill in that blank and just expect all right, here we go, and you should already know this and just keep going.
Which this is exactly what happened with me with The Last Jedi. Is people would have these exact same arguments where it's like, I don't understand these things, and I'm like, well, in the extended lore in the books they explain it as this, and they're like, you can't do that. It has to be explained in the movie. And
Yeah.
so I'm pulling the same thing that people pulled on me.
Oh yeah, no worries. Totally understandable. And I think it's just it's all about the story arc, right? A lot of times when someone watches a movie, they're like, "Hey, you got to start at the beginning, or else you're not going to enjoy this," right? Same thing here. You gotta watch the other ones to understand the story arc. Whether you start with the original 3 or if you start at the very beginning, I think both are a good place to start. But it develops that story, builds you there. When you listen to all the stories of the Sith, you talk about Darth Sidious explaining Plagueis, you listen to Darth Maul, you listen to any Darth, they're all about extending their legacy, living beyond their years, whether that's through cloning, whether that's through transferring their energy. Now, here's the real cool twist if you weren't paying attention. Bum, bum, bum. Yeah, it doesn't matter. Anyways, the real cool twist here is he said that she would be the Empress. But if you listen to his dialogue carefully, he was going to transfer his energy into
Right.
her. So technically, he wasn't interested in giving her the throne. He was interested in having her accept the dark side so he could transfer his energy over into her body.
So does that mean he was planning on possessing her and becoming her?
Consuming
that-
her life force. And this is where we're getting into other old games called Knights of the Old Republic 2 with Darth Nihilus.
Okay, keep going.
So...
I'm lost. Sorry.
I'm just eating this up. Because so far we're on the same page, but I didn't play Battlefield or Knights of KOTOR 2.
So, Knights of the Old Republic, there's a Darth Sith called Darth Nihilus. He is consumed... Basically, his arc is that in order to survive, he has to consume the living force. And he consumes people's energies and becomes them. But at a certain point in time, he is so... They describe it as hunger, and he's so hungry that he actually consumes his own life force and becomes a shadow, and he has to continually be consuming life forces.
That's cool. That's a
So-
cool idea.
And
cool.
in the game, they don't actually show it or anything, but as part of his arc, he actually consumes all life on one planet, which is
Cool.
crazy powerful. Like, I mean...
Okay, so you're telling me that Rey striking him down would allow him to consume her life force and survive longer?
Yeah, basically and I mean, this isn't really explained, but this is kind of a similar thing because and here's another, we're going Knights of the Old Republic. This is, I think, version 3 where it's talking about Lord Bishop, which is like probably the most bad bleep. I don't know. Can I say that on here, right?
You can say whatever you want.
Okay. Well, badass, and you can bleep it out if you want.
That's fine.
But he's probably the most badass, like Darth Lord of the Sith, and you actually find out that he's been transferring his energy between bodies and bodies that can withstand the amount of force that he has. So her being a bloodline and being able to withstand the power that Palpatine has been able to make within the Force and his connection with the dark side of the Force, her accepting that, striking him down, which is the dark side of the Force, allows that connection to be made.
And allows him to take that.
Exactly. And so that's how that really arcs in the story.
Okay.
Because with Lord Vitiate, he's around the time of Darth Revan. This is 1,000 years before these movies have come out, guys. So if you want to know it,
I'm
play
giving
the
you
games.
guys 3 more minutes to talk about this.
I'm sorry,
Which
this is really...
Which is why the next trilogy that we need is
We'll have to cut
is a
them off
Knights
or
of the
they'll
Old
talk all
Republic
night.
series, so we can explore some of these ideas that will make
Yes.
the play stuff make more sense.
Guys, I have no idea where you guys have been for about 6 minutes, but I've been thinking about something, and I know you guys are talking deep into this, and I want to derail it completely. But in episode 3, he talks about the midichlorians and how, and I know, Vince, you hate these midichlorians.
No, I don't.
Who was it who we talked to? It was like,
Metachlorians are stupid, but they're part of the thing, so
Okay.
I've
But
accepted it.
Palpatine talks about this with Hayden Panettiere or whatever.
Hayden Christensen.
Hayden Christensen, sorry. But he talks about this, how, like, his master was able to clone himself. And so what if he's actually cloned himself and he himself right there is a clone, and now this is a secondary clone?
That he's just been cloning himself over and over again to somehow achieve eternal life.
Yeah.
Well, if you actually see in the background, it's very, very faint, but you see in the beginning scenes, you see the bottle, the pickle jar full of Snokes.
Uh-huh.
And then in the background, very faint, but it's with the lightning flash, you can actually see some of Palpatine's bodies.
Really?
Yes.
Okay, that's cool. I never noticed that in any of them.
Very, very faint, very short, like probably 2 frames, but
It's there.
it's there.
I'm gonna
Nice.
look
Oh, yeah,
this
that's
up. Palpatine pickle jar and see what it
Palpatine
says.
So-
pickle body jar.
let me just run through some of these questions. Maybe you can answer them. We already answered some of these. We answered the how did Palp survive? We answered who built the Star Destroyers. Did we answer that?
Kinda.
Who built the Star Destroyers and who's manning those Star Destroyers?
If we're getting into that, I think this is perfect for Battlefront 2 and the arc of Iden Verso and the Final Order, because if you go, I can't remember what they call in Battlefront 2. I think they actually call it the Final Order, but they call it like he basically has a bunch of Crimson robots with his plan programmed in them, having certain people take around certain things. Now, Iden Verso, which is the main character in Battlefront 2, she has to follow the arc of her father, which is to basically punish the planets that were under Imperial control that didn't quell the rebellion, right? That doesn't say that was all of the Empire. Now, there was multiple of these robots, so it is very likely that Emperor Palpatine already knew where this planet was, sent his most loyalist followers, the Sith that do the cha-cha-cha in the background, right?
cultists.
Yeah, exactly.
I like that.
Those people, plus some slaves, plus people, they were all Sith loyalists, so they were hard to the core, right? And so these definitely were people that were sent to this area, I feel like, off of the Battlefront 2 arc. And the ones that were loyal, but, still kind of like not tested true, that will be battle hardened, those were the ones that were sent to try to clean up, try to resolve it. If they were successful, great. However, the most loyal would definitely follow through with their plan. And having that secrecy, having the time to build the 20 plus years to build that fleet with whatever technology they had. Plus, that planet is filled with dark energy, and so that's not really super explored, but definitely would establish a base, and then they could go from there. But because it's so hard to get to, I think I'm going to just keep going, so, whatever.
All right, I can already tell that we've bored the other two here.
Oh, sorry.
No,
I'm
sorry.
paying attention.
That's okay.
I'm looking at June, and my dog. She's
That's
outside
okay.
the window. And
I'm just gonna ask one more question. This isn't nerd deep question.
Oh, I
this,
can answer
This is
it then.
more of the making of movies question. I think Josh, you'll really like this one. So, what is the limit on fan service? Are we sacrificing art and really cool narratives to please a unpleasable fan base with as much stuff as we can and sacrificing new cool ideas? And is that a good thing?
I want to say yes. We are sacrificing something to please people who will never be happy about the outcome. That's how I feel, because no matter what you do in this, like, it's the same with Star Trek, right? Or Battlestar Galactica, or anything that's going to come out that's big and has a cult following and a new following that they want to bring in so they can make more money. They're just going to piss people off. And I think that the old fans are going to be torn by the new fans, and the middle fans from those films that someone pretends don't exist, like...
So what would you prefer? Like, we had The Last Jedi, which subverted... It's the perfect example of subverting expectations, because he did it with everything. Everything you thought was going to happen, he was just like, no, I'm going to surprise everybody.
Yeah.
And then this one's the opposite. He came in and he said, I'm going to do everything you've expected to happen in a Star Wars movie, and you're going to love it. And a lot of people loved it. So, like, is that a good thing to give people what they want? Or do we not know what we want, and that makes it a nice surprise when we're given something we're not expecting?
You have to find the balance, because you can't piss everyone off. You can
Balance the force.
my
Bring balance to the force.
You have to bring balance. You have to find both what is going to make people happy, because you know that people want certain things, but you cannot sacrifice a story that you want to tell to appease an audience that, like you said, is unappeasable, because some people want thing and some people want the exact opposite of that thing. So even though a lot of people may want certain things that they went through, and like you said, they just go down the list and like check off all of the things that everyone wants to happen, you have to find the balance of making people happy, not pissing people off, but you have to tell your story. Otherwise, like Vince says, who it's really written by, it's not your movie. It's just it should be the fans' movie, but it's not a movie written by the fans. The movies happen, and you can come into it and like it and become a fan of it if you like what they produce. You don't write the story. Okay, like, I'm not
But
saying
is it
that
our
you
right
have to,
as the fans who pay for these movies to have some say in it?
don't pay for it if you don't want to go. Like, I'm not saying
But
that
they owe me. I'm a fan.
No, I know, and that's the whole thing, is that
Well,
like everyone's
that's-
into that, and I
that's
know that you're
debatable.
playing. I know that you're playing like what, because you're against that.
Oh.
I know your answer to it. You're playing like the anti. What is it called?
Right.
The
Devil's
advocate. Exactly, to it of what you like.
The Antichrist.
The Antichrist. The Antichrist. No, but for real, it's that. While you need to do your best to make sure you're not just like straight up pissing people off, like, I'm gonna do my own thing. You have to write your own story, because otherwise it's not yours. You
I
can't
agree.
really put your signature on it if you just went and did what everyone wanted to happen.
I feel like this actually bleeds into the Avengers. Everyone wants bigger, badder, better. What are they going to do now? Blow up a universe? Like, it just
Add 1,000 mini Deathstars.
Right.
Sorry.
Right? Yeah. So,
Like a thing the size of Babu Frick can like explode an entire like solar system or galaxy or something.
my longest friend, Babu Frick.
Babu Frick was the best.
Babu Frick was my favorite.
It just like clicks him off, and he's like, "It's fine, no big deal. I got it."
Like, probably less than 2 minutes, and probably one of the most loved characters in that movie.
No, yeah, for real. Like, we
Perfect.
couldn't go this whole episode without at least mentioning
He's what
briefly
they,
Babu
He
Frick.
is what they wanted the porgs to be in the last episode. Also, can we talk about? We haven't talked about this really.
Did you want to finish your thought real
sorry.
quick?
No, I'm good. Let's roll.
Okay.
Oh, I was like, did I cut you off again? I'm sorry. No. Oh crap! I just forgot his name. The counterpart of Finn, who's the Poe Dameron.
Poe.
Can we talk about how freaking tight it is that he was like a spice runner or whatever he was before? Like, the way that they built out his story was fantastic. And we haven't brought that up yet. And because we brought up What's that dude's name again?
Babu Frick.
Babu Frick.
And that was solid character development.
Yeah, and that was such good character development. And I ranted earlier about how poor something else was, but his character development was yes. So I just want to bring that up.
Yeah, he was awesome in it.
Which is why no one else mentioned him earlier in the poor character development section.
I think that real quick, just the difference between too much fan service, blatant fan service, and fan service that progresses the story. I think that's what it comes down to, right? Blatant fan service, like Chewie getting his medal, Palps saying "do it," which was fun, but that's like fan service for fan service sake. It doesn't progress the story or anything. The people just wanted to hear Palps say "do it," or like
Ben and
Wedge
Ray
showing up, or the Ewoks showing up. That's all. I don't know, just wasted time. Could be considered wasted time because it doesn't progress the story. It's fan base just to make people feel good and be like, oh, I recognize that thing.
Good, better, best. Good use of time. There's definitely a lot of better uses of time.
Yeah. But then there's good fan service, like the end where Rey is laying on her back looking up into the sky and you hear the voices of all the Jedi. That is some fan service where you hear like Mace Windu's voice and Yoda's voice, and even into some of the Clone Wars characters like Ahsoka and Kanan Jarrus and some of these like side character Jedis that a lot of people don't know about, that if you pay attention, or if you're in the know, you're gonna be like, oh, awesome, that's cool. But it's not there just to make, it's there for the people in the know, but it's not like wasting time pointing at it and being like, see. Another example is like in the Babu Frick, who we were just talking about scene, you can see like a prequel era droid hanging in the background. It's there to service the fans, but it's not like taking any time or like or stealing attention from the storyline. It's there to set to. You guys get what I'm saying?
Yeah, well, it's there to serve a purpose, so you can like think back to the Clone Wars, right? Mm-hmm. And then you're like, cool. It was there,
and that's I think is my opinion when it comes to fan service. This is my biggest problem with this movie is it's a movie full of fan service, and it made it feel like somebody's fan art to me, or like it didn't feel like an actual entry into the movie because it felt like it was just full of everything that everyone wanted to see. And so I just felt like it was something that been reading on the internet over and over again. And that was my biggest disappointment, is because I wanted to be surprised. I don't know how they would do it, I guess I'm kind of rambling here. But
did you feel that Ben and Ray was part of that fan service?
Yeah, right down to the Raylo, like the kiss at the end.
Kiss is also one of those good moments, but definitely could have been better.
Yeah, like I'm okay with it, but I'm just like, oh, they did that because the internet wanted it. And I just felt like throughout the whole movie it was so distracting, because being so into this franchise and like listening to everything on like other podcasts or reading about it, it's like once I'm watching it, it's like, oh, look, they did what they wanted to do there. Oh, they did what they wanted to do right there. Oh, they did what they wanted to do right there, and I just it felt distracting, and that's why I did not like it the first time I watched it. I was just like, well, that was a good movie to settle all the fans down or whatever and move on.
So I actually got a comment about that, and, thanks for that thought, because I'm actually wondering about this, and I wonder if actually Disney set this up in this way, that these 3 films would be to try to please the fan service and literally be the testing grounds for all the bombs and all the hate and all the love, and find out what works, and then use it for all their spin-offs. Because they definitely, Rogue One and Solo, like totally different spin, go into the lore. There's stuff in the background, but they definitely worked on the stories. I know that I like Solo. I know it was very controversial and a lot of people hated it.
That was another one, kind of like this one, where it answered questions I didn't want answered, but if you just ignore those things, it's actually a pretty fun movie.
If it is that, then boo. Like, you don't use the main Star Wars episodes to test for what your spin-offs are going to be. Like, obviously you want to make money through your streaming service and everything like that, but if you're going to take the finale of the Skywalker saga, the final trilogy, to test and see what people like, yeah, it's a bigger test audience, but that's so cheap to me.
Well, think about it. They know they're going to make $1 billion either way. That's the truth of it. So why not test out your largest market? Like, the reality of it is this is a smart way to test it, is making these side films, right? But at the same time, this is also a good way to sabotage your future opportunities with your streaming service. But The Mandalorian is proving that a character who has less than 7 minutes of time throughout the original canon of Star Wars can be a big hit through his whole line, through one character chasing around a Baby Yoda in the desert. That's what I know. I don't know.
I just can't believe that a company is here to make money, you know? And I don't think that any of their movies is used as a testing ground. I just don't think they know what to do with it. And I kind of feel like the leadership is poor. And I'm really excited for Dave Filoni and Jon Favreau to step in and push out Kathleen Kennedy, who I don't think really knows Star Wars. I think from everything I've heard, she's a great producer, but I just don't think that she really knows what to do with Star Wars. And so I'm excited that they are bringing in people who are passionate and know the expanded lore and can really put these movies that they failed, they still made so much money, like you said, aside. And like that, I'm just so happy this is over. Like, I'm so happy that we can stop talking about these movies. I mean, I love talking about them, but I'm so happy that we can stop and we can move on to something new. And hopefully we'll get more stuff like The Mandalorian that really does unite the fan base, because everybody loves The Mandalorian.
Well, and it's all about like ending a real story, right? A story has to end sometime, but obviously within the story there's multiple opportunities. And I think that's like, no matter how you feel about this film in the long run, right? It was a good film. It was entertaining.
It is very entertaining.
But there were some holes in it. There were some weak parts. There were some parts that could have been better, right? Good, better, best. We're talking about that. But I think in the long run, I think this was a good film. We need to start kind of closing this up here, wrapping it up, whatever you want to call it. But here's what I want you to do, each of you, so you can think about it. I've kind of come up with an idea. But if you were to describe this film to a friend in 5 words or less, how would you do it? And this is what I thought about. Very fun. That's it. Very fun. I don't know.
Yeah.
Wraps it up. Very fun. Wraps it up.
I would first ask them, are you a Last Jedi fan? And then depending on their answer, I would say you're going to love it or you're going to be disappointed. That's kind of how when we first walked in, that's kind of the first thing I asked you is like, do you like the Rise of Skywalker? Yes. Did you like the Last Jedi? No. Okay. Like I get it. Like I know, I feel like the people who really liked the Last Jedi are going to be entertained by this movie like me, but have their problems with it. What was your question?
Just how would you like
wrap it up
tell
in
a
5
friend?
words.
Wrap it up in 5 words. Explain it to your friend in 5 words what you thought about it.
It's a really fun movie that you will enjoy. Don't expect a lot of depth.
Sold. I like it.
2, 3,
It's okay.
No,
If just a short summary, it works. I'm just like really curious. Like, how would you tell a friend about this if they needed a really quick, concise thing? Like you were running by them at the bank and they're like, Rise of Skywalker.
What'd you think?
That was basically, I guess mine is the same as Vince is, but just like condense it down. Super fun, not super deep.
No.
Yeah, I would just tell them, I was like, as long as you're, it's very entertaining. And then if they're getting into it, just be like, yeah, you're not going to get a bunch of storylines. I mean, there's plenty of movies that do fantastic with that, but I'm just be like, if you're looking for just a good time where you don't have to, this is actually a great movie if you're, once it gets released, if you have to do homework or you got to cook dinner, you can go in any point in time and you're going to enjoy this film and you don't have to worry about getting into it. So it's just, and it is for a casual showing, definitely worth it. If you're looking for deep lore,
it's kind of like those Transformers movies where if you just want to watch stuff blow up for a while, I just likened Star Wars to Transformers. I'm going to go throw up.
All right, then here's my last question that I have for you. Did you like the way this film ended? Like,
how it wrapped up the saga?
Yeah.
I want to define it further. Define wrap up. Like, where are we starting? Are we talking about like Lord of the Rings wrap up, where there was like 4 different scenes where it wrapped it up? Or are we talking about the very last?
Was it a good ending to the saga, 9 movies?
Yeah, or whatever you want
Just the whole movie in general. Was it a good ending to the
did
9?
Did it do enough justice, or was it Game of Thrones?
I'd say
it was not Game of
Cut
Thrones.
the middle, the middle of the 2.
You have Endgame, which ended perfectly.
Uh-huh.
And then you have Game of
Thrones
Thrones
season 8.
that admittedly did not. And then somewhere in the
Split
middle
the
there,
middle.
you had Star Wars.
Star Wars 9. It wasn't awful, but it definitely could have been better.
I think probably the most disappointing part for me was when Rey goes back. I love that she went back to Tatooine and decided to take on the Skywalker name. But for them, for going into the film and knowing that they're like, hey, this is the end of this saga. And it's like, well, I want to know more about Rey. She just developed a new lightsaber. Like, what's going on with
Where did
Rey?
that come
So,
from?
yeah, like, I mean, I think it's very, very fair to put it in the middle. And even though they say that they're not going to make more, I hope that maybe what is Rey's
Daisy Ridley.
Daisy Ridley. You know, maybe like 10 years after acting, if they come back to her, she's middle-aged. You know, she's
like 24, man.
yeah, well, I mean, you know, get back to her when she looks like she's 35, 40.
Okay,
you know.
okay.
Turns out that she's given up the Force and she's secluded on an island, and then some new character shows up and says, "Hey, we need your help," and she says, "No, I hate the Force."
Yeah. and then she reaches out and then she fades away slowly into the sunset.
No, I like that. I think that's a fair thing, though. I am curious, though. I would like some more Jedi lore films, like if they would create some of that.
Yes, please.
I would like that. I'm curious about that.
All
but
that stuff you were talking about earlier, like the Knights of the Old Republic stuff, is so interesting. And could you imagine a movie like? I know that Benioff and Weiss, the Game of Thrones guys. Sorry, last thought. The Game of Thrones guys are not in Star Wars anymore, but just that idea of just like Game of Thrones in space and exploring, like, I mean, can you imagine like Kylo Ren's lightsabers and kind of that aesthetic of just like Dark Ages aesthetic, but a sci-fi movie, and exploring like the Sith and where they came from, and the Jedi and where they came from, and some of these old Sith lords and the rule of two and all these ideas. That's such a cool idea. Even if it was just a Disney Plus series, like, please give me some of that stuff, please. I don't care about Lando's daughter. I don't care about anything going on in the future. We're done. Let's go to the past here.
do you know what I want is them to make a Disney Treasure Planet with the writers of Game of Thrones with the tech of Star Wars at that point. Less cyberpunk. That's what I want. Pretty much what you described. But anyhow, we're going to wrap this one up. I think
Do you guys have any last words you want to say?
Yeah. Anything to end this on?
Yay, Star Wars. That's it.
I'm just going to agree with my fellow fans that we need some more lore. Dig into it. We have so many options from the 9 plus the episodes plus everything. Yeah, I'm not. I was about to go into something, but it's gonna go. I've got like 20 minutes on that, so we'll
so
just move
more
on, but
lore is
More
what we
lore, yes. More.
Don't
lore.
be scared. We have freaking Thanos. Like, people accepted that. They're gonna accept Darth Plagueis. I'm done.
What if they did a Sith spin-off series? Do you think that would go well?
Yes.
Yes.
Did you guys just become best friends?
I think we did.
If you get that reference, yes. But yeah, I would like something like that. So I think that personally, I liked how they closed off the series. I think that this film did enough justice that we're going to be satisfied. You're always going to have the haters. But obviously, this was a huge film, a lot to talk about. We talked about an array of things. If you feel like there's something we missed and you want to let us know about it, message us on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook. You can DM any of us. No, I'm just kidding. Please don't. Just message us on Pause Rewind Play, and we will get back to you. But we want to know more of what you think about it. If you had thoughts on Star Wars, The Rise of Skywalker, let us know. And once again, thank you for joining us on our first episode of 2020. This is the Pause Rewind Play podcast. This is
Josh.
Vince.
Tristam.
and Casey. Sign off. Take care.